Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Big D Energy right here on the Woodward Sports Network. We're live at Feldman Chevrolet out here in Novi on Grand River. They are Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. Good to be back with the fine folks here at Feldman. Sam Flannel in for D-Mac. We got JB Smoove. We got Alex Westfall. Westy here in the house. We got the varsity crew in here on the production side. There is no doubt about that, but it is good to be back here at Feldman. Sam Flannel, what's popping, man?
Hey, I mean, it's the day after the Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Those are always interesting days for me because I stay up really late analyzing everything, and I can't wait to talk about it today. Obviously, we got a lot to talk about in Detroit sports, but those NBA Finals are just every single year. They're electric. There's so much to talk about. Legacies are on the line. And some people are helping their legacies, and I'd say some people are hurting, but we'll get into it.
No, we certainly will. You can jump into the discussion as well on the WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Detroit Dabber 313 with the big what up, though. What is going on? And Dabber, we appreciate you and everybody else jumping in. Steven Syret says Flannel's wearing the checkered flag flannel today.
Hey,
that's useful, obviously, the Detroit Grand Prix yesterday. And Flannel, I have an admission to everybody out there. I have gone to the Grand Prix in the past. I do enjoy it. I like it a lot. I really do like it a lot. I did not go down this year. However, I found myself locked into it on television yesterday.
Sure.
I watched the last, I'd say, 50 laps of it down there downtown out in front of the GM Renaissance Center. And I was locked in. It was cool, man. Like, it was cool seeing the streets. I'm like, hey, I drive down that street all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I actually was down there for most of the weekend doing work for my side hustle job. So I kind of had to be there, but it is really cool. You know what was actually kind of cool though, man? When they were introducing the drivers, they introduced Helio Castroneves. And I'm like, I remember that name. He's a guy that I've been hearing about since I was young, and he's a big name, and it happened in our city of Detroit. It definitely shut down a lot of downtown, but it was a really cool experience. And hearing those cars whiz by, you have to almost wear earplugs just to be able to take it, but it is a very, very cool event. And I'm sure it translated on TV.
No, absolutely it did. It was very, very cool. Zachary Jones with the what up, Neal. What up, Zach? Appreciate you tapping into the show. BD3 says, Sam can't wait to hate on Denver right now. I feel it.
You know what? I mean, the other starters not named Nikola Jokic, they deserve a little bit of hate today because they did not show up. It's such a shame when a game in which Nikola Jokic has a 41, 11, and 4 stat line very efficiently, they still lose. It's the type of game, and I know you find this ridiculous too, if he has a couple more games like that and they lose, it could actually hurt his legacy, which is absurd, of course, but you know how NBA narratives
work. That's the way
work.
it works. That's why I love this stuff. I've talked about this many, many times. Super Bowls, NBA Finals, legacies are defined. One way or the other, right or wrong, however you want to slice it, it doesn't matter. And look, I have created Nikola Jokic. Nobody believed. Nobody thought much about him. There were a lot of Data Davis fans out there that didn't believe. I carried the torch for Nikola Jokic. I feel as though I created his career.
Sure.
I do. It went through me, Sam Flannel.
It went through you.
I need to see him cash this in, no doubt. But the bottom line is this. Nothing is different than what I said before. If Jamal Murray plays well, Denver will win. If he does not, they will not win.
Yeah,
that's it.
No, he didn't do enough. I actually have some numbers for how some of Nikola Jokic's teammates are playing in this series so far. So Jamal Murray is averaging 22, 5, and 10 on 49% shooting and 33% from the three, which is much worse than the last series against the Lakers. Michael Porter Jr. averaging 10, 10, and 1 on an abysmal 29% shooting and 18% from three.
I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad.
Oh, yeah, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a guy that we both like as one of the most valuable role players in the league, he's giving you 7, 3, and 2 on 33% from the floor and 33% from three. So if anybody is sort of carrying a mid-team, it's not Jimmy Butler, at least by the numbers. It is Nikola Jokic, and that's where you have to think a little bit deeper than just use the whole Jimmy Butler is carrying undrafted players narrative. And
you couldn't. I know you couldn't wait to say that.
I couldn't wait to.
Yeah, I know that you couldn't wait. WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Bradley K says Jokic should probably give Neal 1% of his earnings. In that case, I wouldn't turn it down. And I do feel partially responsible for his career and how things have happened and how things have played out. Ransom says it was a good weekend for soccer, too. I like this one. You mentioned side hustle.
Yeah.
CJ Schneider says, quote, side hustle is just a glamorous way to say part-time job. That is true.
Oh, yeah. But
hey, JB Smooth, that's real.
JB and I know all about that life. Trust me.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Yeah. It's just a part-time job.
We're cut from we came from the exact same place.
I do. I like that. I like that because that's exactly what that is. But no, man, the Grand Prix was cool. Wasn't cool to see a Honda car win it, but you know, I flew that flag. I was feeling that way on Sunday. Man, I was full on race guy. I was.
Sometimes it takes an event like that to bring that out in you. I know I had a bit of a phase when I was younger of being an actual. I tried to be a fan of NASCAR. I tried to be a fan of IndyCar. I tried to be a fan of Formula One. So I kind of gained an appreciation for it. And seeing it in downtown Detroit, it's different, especially when you're there. But you said you watch it on TV. But even knowing this is in downtown Detroit, I believe the last time it was in downtown Detroit was 91.
91, I think it was.
And it certainly made traffic a little bit difficult, but it's just cool. It's a marvel to see how they were able to pull that off, like the city.
No, it was. And like I said, too, you saw the little camera shots and Woodward, like the Woodward street sign was right there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm stuck in traffic there all the time. I know exactly what that's like. I could drive. You're sizing it up right there. And, trying to, I was telling my son, I was like, I've made that turn before. Now imagine doing it at 90 miles an hour or whatever it is that they were doing. But no, it was cool, and I think it came off well just kind of monitoring social media because you can't just watch TV anymore.
Sure.
You have to have Twitter out. You have to know what the people are talking about. It sounds like the city came off pretty well, too, so that's really all you can ask for.
Absolutely. A big, I'd say, win for the city of Detroit this weekend. And wins for Detroit are wins for all of us, wins for everyone in this building, and especially for Woodward Sports. So that is the bottom line.
There were no wins for the Detroit Tigers. As a matter of fact, there were not a lot of RBIs. There were just 2 all weekend. They went 2 consecutive games without an RBI. Tough to win when you don't drive in any runs.
But
I was told Almago's hot.
No, he has certainly been terrible again this year.
What happened? I was told he was.
Well, he had a historically gutter trash start. Then he heated up a little bit, and now he's regressed back to the Detroit Tigers version of Javier Baez, which is one of the worst players in the MLB, one of the worst analytics players. He was even a bad analytics player when he was with the Cubs. And to top it all off, and I hate to put any blame on this guy, even Alex Lane got a loss and had one bad outing. And when you're a Tigers team that was playing a little bit above their heads, I think we all agree, and then you lose Riley Green, your best position player, you lose your best starting pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez, Alex Lang even blows a game. And he's been phenomenal, terrific the rest of the series. But at the same time, just that one outing upped his ERA to 2.55, and it was in the ones. It's amazing what that can do.
No, it does. BD3, effing El Mago. No, I was told he's hot. That's what I was told, Sanford. I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah, he was hot, and then he cooled down. Let me respond.
Did he?
Yeah, he definitely. Oh, he's like as cold as ice right now. He's like Antarctica. CJ Snyder said he was not bad analytically with the Cubs. His on-base percentage, even in his year where he finished second in MVP, was .326. That's not very good. The one time that he was good analytically, I would say, would be his stint with the Mets, which was right before the Tigers got him. And then with the Tigers, he goes back to having on-base percentages in the 270s. Not good.
Yeah, Jack Harrington, our Yankee resident New York guy. Yankees got to keep pace with the Rays and the O's. Good luck, man.
Good luck.
Good luck. You want to see analytics? Look at that Rays lineup. I know this. We're losing people by the second that you bring that up, but go ahead and look at it. And Broder says it best: led league in strikeouts and errors with the Cubs, and continued on that fielding tradition with the Tigers last year, where he was brutal. I don't get. I don't get the El Mago and he's back and all that stuff. And look, a lot of people, friend of the network, Chris Castiani from Barstool, had a meltdown video about Javi. Yeah. It was great. I was like, Chris, you're like a month late to the party, but whatever. Chris is my guy. So that I was entertained by that. If you get a chance, check that out also. But yes, we do have a big time show lined up for you. There is a lot of Lion stuff to get to. We will touch on the Tiger stuff as well. We'll mix in. I'm excited for this one, and I may bump this one up in the run of show. Are there higher expectations for Michigan football or MSU basketball?
Oh, that's a good
look,
one.
Is that a little easy button? I don't want to say it's easy button. It's easy button for you guys because I know where you guys are going to end up going with it. But I think there are some parallels, and I do want to discuss it since we have Sam Flannel here.
Yes.
And you know what else, too? When we get to that discussion, I'm going to cut Juwan Howard some slack late in the second hour of the show.
Ooh.
And I'll explain it to you when we get there.
I can't wait for that because
And Michigan athletics in general, I will cut their coaches some slack, not the university.
Sure.
I will cut their coaches some slack, though. So for all of you that say I'm a hater, when really I'm not a hater, I'm just a realist. I speak in fact, not opinion. Bo Schembechler was 2-8 in the Rose Bowl. That is not hating. That is a fact. You can Google it and look it up, or you can just believe me and save yourself some time. But either way, you can do it. But we are going to get to all of that stuff, and we'll take your thoughts, too, on the WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Jackson's raising the O's, the best teams in the American League. I know the Orioles, man.
The Orioles.
Bottomed out the same time as we did.
Absolutely. And you know what? They've got a star. Adley Rutschman is a star. He is one of the best catchers in the majors right now. You could even argue the best. And they've been able to turn it around. And I think the MLB is good when the Orioles are good because I love Camden Yards, just watching it on TV. And that AL East, look at how good that division is.
That goofy bird they have on their hat.
That goofy bird they have in their hat. But, they're a pretty historic franchise. Guys like Cal Ripken and Brooks Robinson. I know we're losing the audience by the day. I sound like an old man. But you know what? I'm a historian of baseball. Sue me.
They've been their last World Series was before the Tigers' last World Series.
It was, wasn't it? It was, I can't even think about it.
83.
83, yes. The year
before the Tigers won.
The year before. Oh,
man. But yeah, so we got all that in the hopper. Robert Colosia, Neal, how stupid are the Twins for trading away Arraez? Hey, man. The Twins always get lauded all the time for every little move that they make, and they were wrong. They were definitely wrong on that one. There is no doubt.
Luis Arraez was hitting 390 last I checked. I don't know what he did yesterday, but hitting 390 this late in the season, I know he's one of those guys that isn't getting talked about as much, probably because he doesn't hit for much power, but 390 that's historic. I'm not saying he's going to hit 400, but having this high of a batting average this late in the season, you start to have those conversations. Can he keep it up? I don't know, but nobody's talking about it, and it's insanely impressive.
No, it absolutely is, and we're not going to talk about it here either. We're done talking about that.
Damn.
As a matter of fact, Jonesy says, I was busy all weekend. Did the Tigers really play a 10-inning, 2-1 game where all 3 runs were scored on wild pitches? Is that a first? I believe it was, right?
Yeah. No, and to kind of piggyback off of that, if the Tigers were actually going to do something, which I thought was a lot less likely after the injuries to Riley Green and Eduardo Rodriguez, you cannot get swept to the sorry Chicago White Sox. That series might actually, propel the White Sox resurgence and be the downfall of the Tigers. Wouldn't that be just a shame? But that's how.
No, see, we're not getting caught up in all that stuff. And I am noticing that where this series will be the downfall of the Tigers. No, El Mago's 270 on base percentage will be the downfall of the Tigers. That will be the downfall of the Tigers. Spencer Torkelson not being on that level. And look, these are 2 separate entities, right? I'm not saying Torkelson's a bust and it's over. I do need more, however.
Sure.
I do need more. And it was funny to me. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about Miguel Cabrera is like the 3rd worst ranked player in all of Major League Baseball by the numbers. You know who was the worst ranked player in all of baseball for a good stretch of last year?
Spencer Torkelson.
So as bad as Miguel Cabrera has been this year, who was worse last year for a long stretch?
Spencer Torkelson.
Oh, wow. Yeah, weird.
And Spencer Torkelson.
Without Triple Crowns and all that stuff.
I know, that's fair. But Spencer Torkelson, despite having had major, I would say, at least substantial improvement over last year. His on-base percentage, it's in the 3s now, but it's only like 315. Yeah. That's still not good enough. Spencer Torkelson, I still keep hearing about how hard he hits the ball, but I need some of those to fall in or go over the fence before I lose my mind. But he's been a little bit better.
Yeah, nobody says Marlins, love my fish. Above 500, hanging in there in the NL East. I'm just saying.
Believe it. But Luis Arraez, when your leadoff hitter is hitting 390. you're going to win some games.
And you're going to win in the insurance game when you go with Swiss Insurance.
Absolutely. Be sure to check with Swiss Insurance this week for your commercial insurance review. Swiss can help make sure you have the proper coverage. Swiss Insurance, give us a shot and you won't be disappointed. Email them at mark@swissins.com, or you can just go to their website, swissins.com.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you, one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime, sign in, sit down, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Let one of our talented, award-winning stylists make you look handsome and clean. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Back at it. We are live at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. Neal, Ruhl, Sam Flannel in for D-Mac. We got Westy JB Smoove here, but we are out in Novi off Grand River Road. They got the $2,000 rebate going on the Silverados. And get out here and see how. Make your move right now. Feldman Chevrolet is Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer, as we said. And if you want that new pickup truck, now is the time. We just started June, right?
Yes.
So there you go. There's the play. It's always best to get that new car in the summer anyway, right? Because you know what I'm saying? Like, it's still warm out and everything like that. You got that vibe going.
Or you could have no choice like me and have your car break down and have to come to Feldman in mid-March. But you know what? They'll take care of you the same just as much.
I know. I was just talking with the folks here. I might be making that switch to the EV route coming up towards the end of the summer. So I think I may make that move. And Feldman Chevrolet is going to be the play for me, and it should be for you as well. But we did want to talk about some Lions stuff. We will get more into the baseball stuff. Mark Walston says the Braves looking like some champions right now. Acuna's back. He's in the fold. Just a little international signing that they've had since he was like 17 or whatever. Where's ours? Where's ours?
Can't find him. Can't find him.
Really?
Yeah.
When's the last time they developed somebody?
Curtis Granderson? Is that really in terms of a position player, is that the one, or am I missing somebody? Riley Green looks like he's on the right path, to be fair, but Riley Green, not that this is the Tigers segment, I think the injuries are a little bit of a concern, especially if he plays less than 100 games this season, just like he did last season.
Yeah. I don't know. We got all summer.
Yeah.
We'll let the bottom fall out a little bit more. CJ Schneider says Castellanos, but he's like, he did his rookie contract and was gone.
He did.
So.
And he's been better in other stops with the Cubs and the Reds. He wasn't very good with the Phillies, but still.
Yeah, and people talking about Maben. Had to trade him to get Miggy.
Cameron, I'm not going to give you Cameron Maben. He was a pretty...
12-year pro.
He was a very fine ball player, but he wasn't really even... For lots of his career, he wasn't even an everyday player. But he is great doing the Tigers broadcast, though.
Real cream of wheat, kind of Cameron Maben. Yeah, that's right. It's Alan Trammell, right? Like the last good player that they developed to come through the system and be good that they drafted, that they developed. It's Alan Trammell, right?
With all due respect to Cameron Maben, if you're grasping at straws for Cameron Maben, that's...
The answer's no.
The answer's no, yes.
Last here on this, Pete Smith. It's a great season because St. Louis is in last place. Garbage Cardinals.
I do.
Fair.
I hate the St. Louis
God,
Cardinals.
I do too.
That 83-win team that won the World Series in 2006, that burns my soul to this day.
I hate the Twins that play in the Metrodome more than the Cardinals, but now that they're not in the Metrodome, now I do hate the Cardinals more. Pete's right. Pete's absolutely right. Lion stuff. I don't know if you guys caught it. James Houston was on Ermanni and Edwards with Maz last week. We haven't had a chance to touch on this, but had a lot of interesting things to say. And the one that really jumped out at me, Sam Flannel, and I dig it. I'm here for it. James Houston said he wants to, quote, double his sack total.
Whew.
This is a guy that got a sack a game.
Over a sack a game, if you want to be technical.
You want to get technical about it. A sack a game. So he said double my sack total. He's talking about 18, 20 sacks. And Flannel, look, this defense, much maligned through the first half of the year, I would say that defense kept them out of the playoffs last year.
Yes.
Because the season is 17 games. I know the second half defense was better than the first half, but they still do count those first half games that they play. If James Houston doubles his sack total, they will win this division going away.
If James Houston doubles his sack total,
his words too.
Those are his words. We might be looking at the Detroit Lions as fighting for the 1 seed in the NFC. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but we're talking about James Houston, a guy who was a 6th-round pick, getting a chance to finally play a full season. If he actually has 16 sacks, do you know how valuable that would be to this defense? I mean, I don't necessarily see it happening, but in last year, let's just look at last year. In 7 games, he had 8 sacks. In those 7 games, the Lions were 5-2, and their defense was much improved. And I also like you said, the confidence that he has. I was actually on the show in the sound booth when he was doing that interview, and afterwards they kind of asked for my reaction. I think it was Maz and Braylon, and that's what I said. I love the confidence because he has the right to be that confident. 8 sacks in 7 games. He's probably thinking to himself, what if I do get to play a full season? I get a full off season. I'm not starting the season on the practice squad. Maybe I can get 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And do I see that as a bit of a reach? Maybe, but he should feel that. And if he actually gets that, I think it would help out Aiden Hutchinson. I think it would do wonders for that secondary because even when he's not sacking the quarterback, he's probably putting pressure on the quarterback. I love it. I hope that he can get to this. At the very least, though, he has become one of the most valuable value picks of the past couple of years, no doubt about it.
What about this? And just to put it into perspective, Todd Sane says 8 sacks in 140 snaps.
That's got to be a record. And the thing is, I know that 7 games is not a huge sample size, but it's not nothing. He was, I believe, on pace for over 19. If he to play his numbers out over a full season, he would have led the NFL in sacks. I know it's not easy to do that, but in 7 games, he was second amongst all rookies in sacks. In 7 games, he had more sacks than Kayvon Thibodeau and Trayvon Walker combined. I almost feel like, and I know that Lions fans, we really appreciate James Houston and what he did. I feel like his season almost has gotten underrated for how great and how historic it was.
Careful
on a
now,
per
he'll
game.
be the next Jimmy Butler if you keep going on like that.
Hey, to where he can basically have 2011 LeBron numbers and be have them 1-1.
So underrated, he's overrated. Isn't that what you said last week?
I did say that. I really did say that. But no, I get what you're saying. But do you feel that way at all too? Where I don't even know if we as Lions fans fully grasp how historic he was, even if it was just 7 games.
It's one of those things too, Flannel, where when I look at him, he looks the part because the athleticism. When you see the slow-mo of him getting to the quarterback, the new catchphrase when you talk about guys that sack quarterbacks or put pressure on quarterbacks, side bend.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone talks about their bend and their side bend and things like that. He almost twists his frame to go vertical to the ground, horizontal to the ground. Like the way it almost looks like a pitcher's elbow when he's throwing. Like it doesn't look natural.
No.
What he's able to do. I mean, he's got it. Like he's got that gift. And I don't know. I start thinking about it. I wonder, how did he slip through the cracks to be a 6th-round pick, provided he was at Florida State at one time.
Florida,
excuse me. He was at Florida at one time, and I know things didn't work out, but even then, going to Jackson State and being there when Deion Sanders was there, like how does he, with those kinds of physical attributes, slip through the cracks? I can't even, but again, he was in camp and got quote-unquote soft released, right? So, I mean, I can't explain it.
Those are the questions that only the man upstairs can answer, because I have no idea as well. I could maybe think his size, and I know that James Houston, there's concerns about him being an every down edge linebacker or edge rusher, but when you get to the quarterback at such a clip that James Houston has, especially with all of those moves and the speed, you're going to be a valuable player in this league. I mean, and I think his ceiling is to be a perennial Pro Bowler. I'd like to see him get more consistent snaps, but even if he is just the best pass rush specialist in the NFL, it would help this defense out wonders. If James Houston actually doubles his sack total,
then you know what?
Yeah.
If you redrafted the draft, he would go number 1 overall. If you redrafted that draft, if he doubles his sack total this year and gets in the high teens, if you redrafted it, Flannel, because what are sacks now?
Turnovers.
Sacks are they're the new turnover in the NFL. They are the most valued commodity that you can have defensively. And I know Michigan fan is like breaking their fingers right now to get to the keyboard because ultimately it always devolves into this. You're going to say, well, Aiden. If you have a guy that can go out there and put up Strahan sack numbers, you're the most valuable guy in a draft. You just are.
Absolutely. And when you said that at first, I
wanted to fight.
I don't know if I wanted to fight. I just had to ponder it for a second. But if we're talking about 8 sacks his rookie season and then 16 plus his second year, my first thought was, would he go above Sauce Gardner? Absolutely he would, because sacking the quarterback, that is the Lions' pathway to maybe having that defense that we all dream about. That's everybody's pathway. I mean, look at the Eagles last year. One of the reasons that their defense was so good is because they had 4 players get over 10, and Hassan Reddick got 16. It's ideal to have that one guy who can just get to the quarterback pretty much at will, which is what James Houston did. By the numbers, 8 sacks and 140 snaps. I can't verify that that's a record, but I would pretty sure I'd go out on a limb and say that it is. Unbelievable.
No, it is. And you look at him too, and I know that this number will go up next year. I know he's a restricted free agent. There are some hoops he has to jump through. Yeah. He's not like a total free agent going into next year. There's some kind of restrictions on it, but $970,000
for that value. I mean, that's unbelievable. And regardless of the snaps he plays, and I think you'll agree with this, regardless if he's more of a pass rush specialist, which I don't think you can get 16 sacks just doing that, he's one of the best he's borderline all-pro. If you get 16 sacks, no matter the circumstances, no matter if you're a second-year player, that's all-pro-like numbers. Those are the type of numbers that Reggie White would put up, or Bruce Smith, or Micah Parsons, or somebody like that, Nick Bosa. Those are those kind of numbers. And I don't think he'll actually get it for the record. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but the fact that he thinks that he can, he should. He probably felt like he dominated the league, which he did in 7 games.
No, and again, it's just when you see the talent, you know it.
Yeah.
You know it when you see it. Kevon Thompson says, if we're being real, James Houston, the problem is better than Aiden, and then threw his arms up with the emoji. But you talk about high teens and sacks.
Yeah.
It speaks for itself, man.
But Aiden Hutchinson, would it really shock you if he got high teens and sacks? I'm not calling for it, by the way, but it's not an Aiden versus James Houston thing. No,
it's not.
If they can combine and I know I'm speaking way in hypotheticals, could you foresee a season in the not-so-distant future where they combine for 30? Imagine what wonders that would do for this defense. By then, we could be talking about top 10, maybe if it's a couple more years, top 5. You just want them both to pan out. But with Aiden Hutchinson, he was the number 2 overall pick. With James Houston, he was drafted as an afterthought. But if they both pan out, it's a win for the Lions. So I don't want this to be a him or him. It can be both. It was both last year. They were 1-2 amongst rookies in sacks. That's unbelievable.
And I wanted to get the verbiage right on this. Next year, he would be considered an exclusive rights free agent. And it's pretty easy for the Lions to keep him. All they have to do is extend a qualifying offer. He'll be unable to negotiate with other teams. A qualifying offer is a 1-year contract at the league minimum salary based on the player's experience level. Okay. So essentially, it is another year of a rookie contract. That's everybody fair. Just calm down a little.
Yeah, and let me get to this thing that Matt Broder, our very own Matt Broder, put in the chat. I believe Aiden will finish in the top 5 of Defensive Player of the Year this season. Now you're speaking my language. I don't even know if I would go that far, but he's an actual Michigan alum who once struck out George Springer. So I'm going to take his word for it. It's another one. If Aiden Hutchinson is top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year, the Lions are probably winning 12 or 13 games. Their defense might be top 10, top 15. So that would be great. I think, though, that Aiden Hutchinson does have the talent to be top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year someday. I'm not saying this year, but that is certainly... I think his ceiling is to be a Defensive Player of the Year one day, the Defensive Player of the Year.
How about this, too? And somebody brought this up in the WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Todd saying, again, what a draft for Brad Holmes, even if it was just those 2 guys. And when you look at it, too, tack on their Kirby Joseph, by the way, tack on their Jamison Williams. We'll see what Josh Paschal happens. James Mitchell's been a contributor. You see what I'm saying? Malcolm Rodriguez.
Yes.
probably going to be a 100-tackle guy, right, in that neighborhood. We'll see how the playing time shakes out. Again, it's like I said, we did this show earlier, where if we look back, if the Lions do the unthinkable in the next 2 to 3 years, that draft will be one of the all-time great drafts in NFL history.
Especially if Jamison Williams becomes that star that we all think that he can be. I mean, you already got Malcolm Rodriguez, Kirby Joseph, Aiden Hutchinson, and James Houston. That's not even factoring in Jamison Williams, who we expect to produce at a high level this year when he gets back from suspension. And Josh Paschal might be something. You're right. It's already, even without Jamison Williams' contributions or Josh Paschal, a phenomenal draft. But I think they're both going to do good things for the Lions. Jamison Williams, potentially great things. All-time great draft.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is double the sacks. Double the sacks. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, there's a couple other Lions housekeeping things I do want to get into. Second hour of the show, we are going to talk some Michigan football and Michigan State basketball comparisons because it's time. For both of them, it's time. And, look, there will be a lot of the similar points that we have discussed in the past, but certainly we are going to get into that. What are your realistic expectations for the Detroit Pistons? Also, all that and more. We'll be back. It's Big D Energy here on the Woodward Sports Network. We're live at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevrolet dealer in Novi.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Back at it here, Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network, live at Feldman Chevrolet in Novi off Grand River. Don't forget, they got the $2,000 rebate going on, the Silverado. If you've been kicking back and forth that idea of maybe stepping up your pickup truck game, the Chevy Silverado $2,000 rebate. If you're a current lessee of a Colorado Equinox, a Blazer, pull on through here. Have the discussion. Take a look at what it looks like. Again, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. The stats speak for themselves. If you're going to make the move, this is the place to make the move. Neal, Ruhl, Sam Flannel in for DMAC. We got JB Smoove. We got Alex Westfall. He's giving me the eye behind the monitor, and I was confused because he was giving me a look like my wife gives me when we're at a party after but I'm not drinking here, so I know it's not that. So I didn't know. Like, I was just trying to climb inside Westy's mind for a minute.
You know, Westy's a guy that he's a lot nicer than sometimes he looks. And you're a very handsome man, Westy, but sometimes you have that look that you're perturbed. And usually when I talk to you, you're very friendly and kind. So I think, Neal, maybe that's what you were seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Dirty Dr. D says, I got a 2017 Silverado and love it still. Hey, Dirty Dr. D, if you want to upgrade it, come on through. Feldman Chevrolet here in Novi. That is the play. Again, Neal, Ruhl, Sam Flannel here with you. DMAC will be back in tomorrow. Levi Onwuzurike, ready to return by training camp. That's the word on the street. Kind of the forgotten man. And we've been talking about James Houston. We've been talking about Aiden Hutchinson and what this looks like. And through all the the glitz and the glamour of free agency where Brad Holmes kind of flipped that secondary around, I think, we kind of forgot a little bit about Hutchinson and Houston. Sure. But I know everyone's forgot about Levi Onwuzurike. And if there is, which is kind of wild to me when you think about it, because you go back through the drafts and look at the draft history for Brad Holmes and what he's been able to do, it's tough to find a lot of, it's been tough to kind of find some misses, I guess.
Sure.
And the unrealistic people out there in the world will say, well, Onwuzurike has been a bust. If Onwuzurike comes back, and remember, too, this is a name that the Lions wanted him. They weren't the only one. And you always hear that, right? When you go back throughout time, everybody's always like, well, we got the guy. If we didn't take him now, somebody else was going to. But Levi Onwuzurike, and as you put this together piece by piece, Flannel, because I make no bones about it. I was a Jalen Carter guy.
Same.
You can put a lot of logs on that interior line fire and keep things rolling. I honestly believe that Brad Holmes was looking at some of the people that maybe we forgot about, the Pascals, the Onwuzurikes, all that stuff. I think that he liked the depth because he's shown he'll step up to the crap table.
Sure.
You know, and roll the character dice, as I would like to say. He's not adverse to it. But I think that when you look at what they've done in terms of free agency and the draft, they like their chair, I think, with how they're set up interior on the defensive line.
Well, the Levi Onwuzurike discussion is, to me, it's got a couple of layers. Let's go back to 2021. Obviously, that is the draft where they drafted Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown, 2 stars, 2 of the best picks that Brad Holmes has made, and I think we would agree with that. They also drafted a guy by the name of Aleem McNeil, who I think sometimes gets forgotten about as another successful pick, a 3rd-round starting defensive tackle. Levi Onwuzurike was actually considered a better prospect than Aleem McNeil. He was drafted in the 2nd round, and he showed a couple of flashes in 2021, not anything special, and then 2022 was a lost season. He was hurt. And I think that speaks to what you're saying, Neal, that maybe Brad Holmes and the whole front office and coaching staff feels confident with who they have, at least a rotation of defensive linemen. And if Levi Onwuzurike comes back and doesn't necessarily have to become a star or a starter, or but just gives you something, gives you a rotational defensive line piece, especially in that position where there's a lot of bigger guys that tire easily, he could be a valuable player. I mean, defensive linemen who are drafted in the 2nd round don't just grow on trees. I think Levi Onwuzurike, at least if he comes back healthy, can give you something. It doesn't have to be a starter, doesn't have to be a star, but can he be what Isaiah Buggs was last year? Can he be a somewhat facsimile of what Aleem McNeil was last year? I wouldn't put that past him. I'm not counting on it, but anything Levi Onwuzurike gives you right now, given Brad Holmes' hit rate, I think is gravy.
You know what's funny about it? I kind of do a cross comparison where Levi Onwuzurike becomes a luxury. At this point. As when we go back and look at some of our transgressions as Detroit sports fans, as early as opening day last year, where we were sitting up here saying, well, you got Riley Green who's a rookie and Spencer Torkelson, and all you need is for them to hit 20 home runs, and boom, you're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They weren't luxuries. They were necessities.
Yeah.
And in past with these Lions and where they've been and the leadership of the Lions and GMs and things like that, this would have been something where you're counting on to say, well, Levi Onwuzurike is going to be back at training camp. He's a 2nd-round pick. So all you need is, borderline Pro Bowl production from him, and boom, you're in there.
Yeah.
Like, this is a total luxury at this point, which I think in and of itself, like in a vacuum, if you look at the state of the Detroit Lions, tells you that things are going to be all right.
I think so. And the defensive line, and Neal, I know that we've agreed on this in the past. I'm not sure how you feel about it now. The defensive line is still a position, at least on the interior, where I still question a little bit on did they address it enough. But if Levi Onwuzurike comes back and gives you something, then maybe they'll be just fine with Levi Onwuzurike, with Aleem McNeil, with John Kaminsky, with Isaiah Buggs, with maybe Broderick Martin will give you something, and then that Covington, I forgot his first name, but Covington from the Chargers that they just signed recently. Maybe they just want a revolving door at defensive line, which you can do. As I said before, these are bigger guys. They get fatigued really easily. You don't want them playing a crap ton of snaps, for lack of a better term. You want them to be fresh. You want them to go up against those offensive linemen that are tired. And Levi Onwuzurike, he obviously has the talent. And it's not like he didn't do anything in 2021. He was fine. He had moments. And then he got hurt. The biggest concern was whether he could come back from an injury like that. But the fact that it looks like he's going to be in camp, that tells you all you need to know. I'm excited to see what Levi Onwuzurike can bring to this defense.
Chromium in the WoodwardSports.com chat thread says 58 defensive linemen were drafted this year. There will be cuts that Brad Holmes can sign. And that's one of the underlying things as well, because you know this, I've always been a proponent of it. They are 5th or 6th in the league in available cap space right now. They're laying out They're laying out, and if something unforeseen happens, they can be in the mix, and they can jump in there if need be. Just because free agency starts, in March, when people can start making moves there, it doesn't mean that's when the most notable free agents are going to be out there. If an opportunity presents itself, he has the flexibility because, Aiden Hutchinson's on a rookie contract, and James Houston's under $1 million a year for expected double-digit sack season. He has that ability to do that still, and that's a great point by Chromie. I mean, there were a lot of defensive linemen drafted this year. It is the new defensive linemen now are kind of, to me, what tight ends used to be in terms of draft value. Remember when tight ends used to get taken in the first round and the second round, and a lot was expected of them and high, like Kyle Pitts type players and things like that. Defensive linemen now, because they are the key to winning. I wish Spencer were here because I could use my line. They push people that way.
Yeah, that way. I know I don't do it as good as Spencer Rexter, but I am a solid substitute, I would say. Don't answer that.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't give you that.
Well, I thank you, Neal. Thank you, Neal, for that. But as you said, and you've said it before, there's always going to be some surprise cuts in training camp. Maybe that defensive tackle gets released that the Lions might want to pick up. Maybe somebody who can at least be a rotational piece who is proven. It's not necessarily a bad idea to wait for that to happen because it always happens. It's almost like clockwork. And even right now, I'd say that they have, given if Levi Onwuzurike is back, they don't have terrible depth or anything like that. They just don't have who you would consider a high-end player. I'd probably say their best interior defensive lineman is Aleem McNeil. I think we all expect him to take a jump, but he's not going to be Quinnen Williams or Chris Jones or anything like that, but they don't need him to be. But as long as they've got solid depth and can maybe add another piece, a la maybe a Covington like they did a couple of weeks ago, maybe that's what Brad Holmes is waiting for.
And they have the ability to do so. And that's really all that matters to me. There's a Lions rookie running back that has kind of created some waves, as well. I think you all know what we're talking about. When we come back, I do want to address that because now it kind of all comes clear. The moves that they made, the why, and it was something where I thought that they might have been able to handle that in-house. But from what we're seeing early on, I think that the answer has become very, very clear and what their thought process was. We'll talk about that after I talk to you about Planet Fitness. Look, now is the best time to join Planet Fitness. You guys already know what it is. The $10 a month, $1 down, $1 down. You guys know how that works. There's over 50 of them in the Metro Detroit area. When we come out here to Feldman Chevrolet in Grand River on Novi, no problem. There is a Planet Fitness literally within 1.5 miles of this place. So that's where I was this morning, still getting it in. Just because we're on location, grind don't stop, Sam Flannel.
Yep.
The grind don't stop. We still got to get in there. We still got to get the miles in and all that stuff. And I can do that wherever I am, here, Novi, back home, Washington Township, South Florida. It doesn't matter. There's always a Planet Fitness around. And since I'm a Black Card member, just $24.99 a month, I got access to over 2,400 Planet Fitnesses around the world with unlimited guest privileges, unlimited use of all the amenities as well. If I want to do the tanning bed, the hydro massage, all of it, it's all out there for me. It can be for you too. You know how to do it. Go to planetfitness.com, or here's a weird way, just pull in the parking lot. You're going to pass 2 or 3 of them on the way home anyway. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
At Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network, Neal, Ruhl, Sam Flannel in for DMAC, Alex Westfall, JB Smoove here in the house live at Feldman Chevrolet in Novi off of Grand River, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. That is fact, not opinion. Slide on through. If you're in that market for a new car, make sure you come on down to Feldman Chevrolet in Novi. But we have been talking Detroit Lions, James Houston, Levi Onwuzurike. Excuse me, Jahmyr Gibbs has been making some news, Sam Flannel. His ability to catch the football. And now it all kind of comes clear, doesn't it? Because I was somebody who said, look, DeAndre Swift, his value with this Lions team, I thought was going to be as a slot receiver. We've seen him do that on multiple occasions. I know he wasn't their guy. They moved him. And low-key, if you look at, and I know Robert Closey in our chat keeps a tally of this. I don't keep the tally of it. I know he does. But non-Holmes Campbell guys have quietly been removed from this roster. And look, that's the way life works. Yeah. At your job, everywhere you go, it's a network game. You like your people in the place. It's all kind of coming clear right now, what the agenda was, what they were looking to do, and Jahmyr Gibbs is holding up his end of the bargain. I think this guy's going to be more of a pass-catching weapon than we even realized when he was drafted.
Well, I certainly hope so, and that is the hope for Jahmyr Gibbs and why he was drafted that high. And I know we talk about Jameson Williams as being somebody who is a Ferrari. You use the term Ferrari. Jahmyr Gibbs, if Jameson Williams is a Ferrari, then maybe Jahmyr Gibbs is their second Ferrari, because I'll tell you what, in the NFL scouting combine, Jahmyr Gibbs ran a 4.36 40, which was second amongst all running backs, which is phenomenal. And as a pass catcher, as a running back, he caught 103 passes in college on 11.8 yards per reception. That's pretty damn good. That is a big sample size. Those are wide receiver type numbers, albeit over 3 years, but still having that volume and that yards per catch. The thing about Jahmyr Gibbs is we all agreed that he was the best pass-catching running back coming out of the draft, and the Lions need him to be that type of weapon for him to be a successful pick, because the questions about Jahmyr Gibbs were he never had an 1,000-yard season in college. He was drafted 12th 1,000-yard rushing season in college. He was drafted 12th overall, which the Lions were compensated for. They traded back, but still, that's pretty hefty for a running back, and it was a deep running back class. And they signed David Montgomery in the offseason. So the need for Jahmyr Gibbs, it puzzled me a bit at the beginning. But if he is that pass catcher, if he is a guy that can maybe himself get 1,000-yard seasons catching balls out of the backfield, which I don't foresee as out of the question, then he becomes that offensive weapon that is for sure worth a first-round pick, because that's what he needs to be in order to justify being the 12th overall pick as a running back.
All right, this is going to get hijacked now.
Okay.
WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Casey, Jameson is a bust. Brandon, Neal is a Brad Holmes apologist. Holmes took Jameson at number 12 and hasn't contributed anything yet. Williams is a bust right now. How many times we got to have this discussion, bro? Like, for real, how many times? He's touched the ball 3 times in the NFL. Scored a touchdown all 3 times. One got called back on a penalty. One, he got marked down at the half-yard line when he was in. The other one, he scored a touchdown. We all knew what the stakes were when he got drafted. Did you see the ACL injury? I know you saw it on TV. We all knew what was going on. We all knew what the story was. You guys got to stop with this he's a bust thing. Based on what I know some of the people in this town that are in this medium that do it, they phrase this to fit their narrative, right? Oh, he's got 1 catch. Are you really going to miss 1 catch? Touched the ball 3 times in the NFL, scored a touchdown all 3 times. Did it not happen?
I mean, technically yes, but obviously one was called back and one wasn't a touchdown. But I know what you're saying.
Was he dynamic when he touched the football?
Honestly, the one that was called back, the flea flicker, that was the best play of the year to me from Jameson Williams. He caught that pass and then was just gone. I understand to some degree what the people in the chat are saying, and hear me out because we've had this discussion before. to say that Jameson Williams is a bust right now is
foolish.
It is tomfoolery. It's absurd on so many levels. But to say that his career has gotten off to a little bit of an inauspicious start. One of it we were prepared for, drafting a wide receiver with a torn ACL, but then to top that all off with a gambling suspension for 6 games. To say that it's been a little inauspicious, I think is fair. And I think when he comes back, there is some pressure on him to produce at a big-time level. I think that he will. I think the fans need to give him some time to at least play another season, albeit a short season. To call him a bust right now is absurd, but to have a few questions, I don't think is that off base. But I do believe he will answer them when he's back on the field.
Ryan in the WoodwardSports.com chat thread says Brandon Katz is a bust. Look, Brandon comes through with some stuff from time to time. It's all or nothing. He is the Rob Deere of the WoodwardSports.com chat thread. It's a home run or it's a strikeout. There is no single the other way or anything like that. And again, the Brad Holmes stuff, guys, look at the two. There's 3 drafts in total. Look at the returns from the first 2 drafts that we can measure.
Yep.
Look at it, and then go back through the previous 20 years of Lions draft. You can't escape that. You know what this is? This is a lot like my Bo Schembechler thing, where the numbers are there in front. Everything is there in front of you.
That's true.
It's factually correct to discuss it. Penei Sewell, Aleem McNeil, Amon-Ra St. Brown, first draft.
Phenomenal.
Second draft, Aiden Hutchinson. You guys call Jameson Williams a bust, so okay, he's a bust. Kirby Joseph, James Houston, Malcolm Rodriguez.
Yeah, those are 7 starters for sure. And then when
in 2 drafts.
And then when Jameson Williams
off a
comes
3-win
back,
team.
Absolutely. And when Jameson Williams does come back, he will be a starter and he will be a contributor. Will he end up being worth being the number 12, 13 overall pick? That's time will tell, but he will definitely be a starter. And out of all those players you mentioned, I mean, 6 of them you can argue were revelations. I mean, Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson were certainly star rookies, and then the rest of them were non-first-round draft picks that contributed greatly. And Aleem McNeil is a starting defensive tackle, probably the best defensive tackle on your team as a third-round pick. That's 7, I don't want to say all home runs, but in the totality of those 7 picks, grand slam.
No question. Brandon said Holmes has to win a playoff game to establish himself as a good GM. No shit.
Well, yeah.
He came into a 3-win team, man. So Scott Harris has to win the World Series this year for the Tigers, or he's a bust.
Well, yeah,
come on, man.
Nobody is saying that Brad Holmes is a GM at the level of like a Brent Veach of Kansas City or Howie Roseman of Philadelphia yet. But the start he's had in rebuilding this team from the doldrums of the Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia era, that's what we're speaking to. The fact that he even was a major contributor with the pieces that he drafted and getting them to 9 wins this season after the previous season 3, how can you not give him credit for that? That is a borderline miracle. And Brad Holmes worked that miracle. Come on now.
He says Holmes inherited the Lions' offensive line. He gets no credit for drafting Sewell at 6. Well, it was him that made the pick, though, right?
Well, that's. I don't like this whole he gets no credit for making the pick. There are, especially when it was number 7, and I get it that Penei Sewell he did fall, and the Lions were lucky to be able to pick him up. But there are other moves that he could have made. I mean, there are other moves that Brad Holmes could have made in the 2022 first round instead of drafting Aiden Hutchinson. He could have drafted Kayvon, which I think would have been a good pick anyway. Hell, he could have went rogue and drafted Derek Stingley Jr. Obviously, I don't think he would, but you always get credit for making the picks that you make, no matter what. I don't buy into this whole, it was the obvious thing. You still got to make the pick.
Kat says anyone would have taken Sewell at 6. He was an obvious pick. Well, nobody did because the Bengals picked at 6, and they didn't take him.
Yeah.
6 other teams didn't take him, and he's a gold jacket loading.
And for the record, I think the guy that they picked, Cincinnati, is also a gold jacket loading
guy.
A
gold jacket loading.
That is a loaded draft. My goodness.
Yes, it was. So again, obviously that goes with it. Casey says you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. Sam guaranteeing J-Mo is going to make up for his weak first 2 years with amazing starts to the second half of the season. Well, he's a good player. Like, he's talented, man. What you can't argue the talent. Remember that Georgia team that took Michigan apart brick by brick? You know who they couldn't deal with?
Well, in the SEC championship game, Jamison Williams gave him 7 receptions for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I firmly believe that Alabama has another national championship in their trophy case if Jamison Williams doesn't get hurt. I really do, because he was that dynamic, and they were already missing John Mechie, but still, Jamison Williams is a game changer. And I get it. He's had the fact that he only had 1 catch last year, and I know there's more to it, is a little bit of it gets my antennas up a little bit. And the fact that he has a gambling suspension to open this season, those are concerns. But the talent, at this point, he has no choice but to make up for it, and I believe he will.
Yep. And, again, the talent is there. It will be on display, and everybody will be back celebrating when it. Talent's talent, man.
Talent's talent.
Talent, especially in this league, dude. It doesn't matter what you do. Sundays at 1 o'clock, when that ball goes in the air, when Jamison Williams is back, he will be an impact player. And you guys can clip this, record it, put it wherever you want to put it, and play it anytime you want to play it, because that is what we will see.
Absolutely, and Lions fans will be cheering him, as they should be. But he's just such a difference maker. I don't foresee him coming back and not doing anything. That would be, there's not a world where that's going to be the case.
Let me tell you about the sports marketing agency. They spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their podcast is called This Is the S Word, helps address the stigma associated with seeking help. If you're struggling or someone you know is struggling, go to thesportsma.com. Again, thesportsma.com, the sports marketing agency. They're here to help.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
Can't get enough Woodward Sports content? Head over to woodwardsports.com right now for up-to-date sports articles and great entertainment news. We have the best writers, bloggers, and coverage all at your fingertips. Head to woodwardsports.com right now to experience all Woodward Sports has to offer.
Back at it, Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network, live at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevrolet dealer. If you're looking for that new pickup truck, I was told they do have the $2,000 rebate on the Silverado right now. If you're a current lessee of a Colorado Equinox or a Blazer, slide on through here. Talk to the good folks over here. See what you can work out. And see if we can get you that $2,000 rebate on a Silverado. And then the only downside to that is your friends will ask you to move everything all the time. But other than that, man, Silverado's a good vehicle.
Feel bad for people with trucks sometimes. They're good vehicles, but yeah, you're always getting that. Do you have a truck? Can I borrow that? JB, I'm sure you've gotten that from time to time.
Oh, tons of time.
Shoot, you haul most of the equipment here for the record,
That's
because you're the ultimate Swiss Army knife of this network, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, JB Smoove, Alex Westfall here, Neal Ruhl, Sam Flannel in for DMAC. DMAC will be back in effect tomorrow when we are back in studio. We'll be joined by Jason Langwell, the executive director of the Rocket Mortgage Classic. I got some geeky behind the scenes stuff that I want to ask him. How do they get players? How does that process work? How do you get a golfer to commit to playing in the Rocket Mortgage Classic?
Hey, tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., Big D Energy, and you will find out.
Now, it is a pretty cool month, though, for the city. The Grand Prix obviously looked to be pretty cool. I was not down there. I am upset with myself. I didn't go down there. Next year I will go down there, as a matter of fact. But you have that at the beginning of the month, the end of the month, the Rocket Mortgage Classic coming up at Detroit Golf Club. It's popping, man. That's cool.
Love to see great things for the city of Detroit.
No doubt about that. A lot of Jalen Carter talk in the chat. There's always a lot of Jalen Carter. Reports are he does look pretty good. I'm just saying. Stunner.
To this day, and I know a lot of people tell me to get over it or are going to get mad at me for this. If I were Brad Holmes, and of course we gotta let it play out. If I were Brad Holmes, I would have stood pat at number 6 and taken Jalen Carter as the franchise defensive tackle. I would have done it. And I still question why it was okay for the Eagles to do it. They were able to take on a guy with, say, character issues or work ethic issues.
With the most on the line of anybody.
Absolutely. But the Lions, oh, no, he was never on our board. And I get it. Now that he's an Eagle, it would be nice if he flames out in the NFL and becomes a bust. But if he doesn't, he might be the one that got away. I hope that's not the case, but it is possible.
No, it is. And in a little bit, we are going to get to the Michigan football, Michigan State basketball thing. I do want to give it its proper time because I think that I know how it's going to work. It's going to work the way it always works. We'll talk about it. We'll bring up good points. It'll devolve into Michigan fans hating on Michigan State fans hating on Michigan. It'll devolve into the thing it always devolves into. But I'm going to do it for that 6-minute segment where we get to actual good points and stuff like that. And then we'll deal with the 7 minutes of name calling and stuff like that. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Spencer Raxter isn't here, and we had quite the squabble ourselves on air one time. You guys can go back and watch it. But I think if he was here, we would have a very respectful discussion about it because the bottom line is, and to tease it a little bit, Michigan football is having one of their best stretches in 25 years, and Michigan State basketball just had a damn good recruiting class, and a lot of players returned from a Sweet 16 team. It's a worthwhile discussion.
No, we will. We definitely will get into that. The Tigers got swept in Chicago.
Yeah.
They were 1 for 21, I believe, was a number with runners in scoring position. It was, but it's on brand for them. I don't know when all of a sudden people thought that this Tigers lineup was a 27 Yankees, but they did because I was told Almago's back and Torkelson, his exit velo's really high.
Oh, yeah.
That made its triumphant return. And I just don't know. And look, does it hurt losing Riley Green? Obviously, he's their best hitter. Obviously, that hurts. But, I mean, and they got to go to Philadelphia now. I'll be stunned if they win a game. If someone offered that right now, hey, we'll give you one game in Philadelphia, I would sign that deal.
I would
that
too.
Series.
And I think that's what they'll get. They'll get one game because the Philadelphia is not very good either. But going to that stadium, Citizens Bank Park, they have a lot of good players. They're underachieving. I don't think the Tigers couldn't complain about getting one, especially given where they're at right now.
Yeah, it's just, in the Eduardo Rodriguez thing and all of that, it just not. Are they better than what we thought they were going to be?
Yeah.
Obviously, especially when they were 2-9 to start the season. Obviously, they're better. It's just, and look, I told you guys, I said, hey, I'm selectively going to parachute into this thing and watch the games and hope that they win, but I'm going to do it responsibly. You know what? I feel like I'm doing a PSA on drinking right now. I was going to indulge in the Tiger season responsibly. There was going to be no emotional attachment, but I made it a point to sit down and take in the games and stuff like that. And I still saw what I always saw, a historically bad offense, which it is if you go through the numbers and look at everybody that's in this lineup, despite the fact that Almago was back. This is what they are, and it's not going to change for a while.
And it's funny you mentioned the offense. And the offense, I looked this up, they have only 5 players with on-base percentages above 300, which is not good. Obviously, a guy like Zach McKinstry has been a damn fine pickup, an underrated signing for sure. Riley Green, when he was healthy, was delivering on the promise, and a guy like Zach Short, Zach Short of all people has an on-base percentage of 370. Let's give him more playing time over
McKinstry.
Zach McKinstry. I mentioned him at the beginning. Obviously, that's not good enough if only those players are the ones that are contributing at a high level. But I don't know if you guys quite understand, because I had to look it up and I was stunned, how effed the Detroit Tigers starting pitching might be without Eduardo Rodriguez. They've been pretty much abysmal. Joey Wentz, 11 starts, 7.28 ERA. Matthew Boyd, our big signing, 11 starts, 5.57 ERA. Spencer Turnbull, 7 starts, 7.26 ERA. And even Alex Faedo, who just went on the injured list, 5 starts, 5.54 ERA. The only shining bright light in that group of other starters besides Eduardo Rodriguez is Michael Lorenzen, and he's been very, very good, but nobody would consider him your second pitcher on a rotation. I think there's a chance, and I hate to say it, that this Tigers team tailspins, and maybe they don't even hit their over of 69.5.
Well, see, the thing of it is, and it's not just me saying it, the numbers suggested it.
Yeah.
They were statistically one of the luckiest teams in baseball to be where they are. You look at the run difference, all that. I'm not going to bore the people with the analytics and all that kind of stuff. Just look at the lineup. Just listen to the numbers that Flannel was talking about. Wentz, you can't pitch him anymore.
No, he's awful. He's one of the worst starting pitchers in Major League Baseball.
Well, what's the answer, Neal? I don't know. Not Joey Wentz. And look, those are obviously our favorite questions to answer as people. I don't have the answer for you. I just know that this isn't the answer.
Well, we all know that Tarek Skubal, he just had a rehab assignment. He looks like he'll be back this year. Matt Manning as well. Casey Mize has turned into a number 1 pick that might never pan out because of injuries, and that would be very, very, very costly. I'm just talking about right now when I know they're not really expected to win big, but they did have an opportunity in a weak division. When somebody goes down, you need guys in the interim who can replace their production. When Riley Green goes down, you're kind of looking at the rest of the lineup. Out of all the guys who are currently playing, they only have 4 players with an over 300 on base percentage, and one of them is Spencer Torkelson at a whopping 315, which is still bad. And I already mentioned all of the numbers for those starting pitchers, all of whom have pitched had a significant amount of starts this season. The bullpen has obviously been a shining light. A guy like Jason Foley has been huge. And you know it's bad, and we were talking about it earlier, when Alex Lang blows a game. And Alex Lang, for the most part this season, has been tremendous. But he lost the game yesterday. He gave up 4 runs, and now his ERA has even ballooned to 2.55 when it was in the ones. It's just, I would sell my stock in the Tigers right now if I were into that. It's like I said, as much as I loved what they did, at one point they were 2 games behind the Minnesota Twins and were minus 99 against them in run differential. I know that's geeky and stuff, but they were never this good. They were never a team that was 1-2 games below 500. They were always very, very lucky. And now you're seeing it. With a couple injuries, they can't handle it.
It's going to end badly with Javi Baez in this town.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to end very, very badly. He has his player opt-out at the end of next year. He's got 4 years and $100 million. No one's giving him that at 31 years old.
No.
Anybody with any common sense, anyway, is not, especially in today's day and age of analytics.
Sure.
Nobody is giving him that. So obviously he's going to take it. He'd be dumb not to. He'd be dumb not to. I would take it, but it's going to get nasty. It's going to get bad, and again, the swings and misses are still what they are. I don't know that people know, but they don't know, right? If that makes any sense, we know that he has not been good. We figured he would not be good when the deal was signed because, as I always say, you are what your resume says you are at 30.
Oh yeah,
at 30. And this is what he is in terms of swings and misses and strikeouts and low on-base percentage. It's not magically getting better at 31 years old. This is going to be ugly. Look, we've all known somebody in our lives, right? Like through school or whatever, as we come up as young adults and stuff like that. We all know like that couple where it's going to end badly.
Oh, yeah.
And it always – JB Smooth's laughing. He knows a couple of them, I'm sure. Right, JB Smooth? You know a couple by that laugh?
I do, actually. Yeah.
You knew it. You were sitting there. You went to those weddings.
Oh, yeah.
You went to the weddings, and you're sitting there at the open bar, and you go get another drink, and you're like, this ain't going to work. There's no way that it's going to end badly. And it does. That was like a Javi Baez wedding. You know, this is going to end very, very badly. It's going to get very ugly. The fans are only going to – because I feel as though only lately has there been this groundswell of realization with Javi Baez.
And do you know what was a great moment of realization, or should have been for Tiger fans? Remember going into the Texas Rangers series when the Tigers there was still talk at that point that this is a weak division. They can go win it. In the 2022 free agency class, I would say that the big prizes, tell me if I'm missing one, were Carlos Correa, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, and then Javier Baez. Those were the 4 that I can remember.
The Rangers got 2 of them.
The Rangers got 2 of them, and look how well they're playing. Look how well Corey Seager has played during his time with the Texas Rangers, and look how Javier Baez has played. And look how the Texas Rangers are doing. They're leading their division. They're a winning baseball team. And I'm not saying that Javier Baez would have made the Tigers winners, but I think it's just getting Javier Baez, to me, it's kind of a microcosm of everything that was wrong with Al Avila. I don't think he really ever embraced analytics, because even when Javier Baez, and I keep saying this, besides for that little stint with the New York Mets, even when he was second in MVP with the Cubs in 2018, his on-base percentage was .326. He's always been a degree of what he is this year, except during his time with the Cubs. For the most part, he hit the ball more consistently. He's never walked. He's always struck out at a high rate. He's an analytically very, very poor player, and for most of his career always has been, or at least poor compared to what the perception is of his counting stats, if that makes sense.
WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Jack Harrington says El Mago is poo. The numbers suggest that.
Yep.
Todd saying Baez is a bozo, which obviously those automatically get read when you put that one in there. Answer 14, what if he becomes average but not great? $25 million a year, man.
Yep.
Average is in the equation.
No, it's not in the equation. And right now, he's so far below average that he can't even see average. So I guess being average would be a step up, but it's always going to be one of the worst acquisitions in Detroit Tigers history. Seriously. Like, even though it's only been a year and, a third, we can already see it.
It's going to be in the running for one of the worst acquisitions in Tigers history that actually plays.
Yes.
Like, you remember, like, Zimmerman got hurt and things like that. I mean, obviously he was ineffective beforehand, but got hurt and it was over. They don't have a choice but to play him because there's no shortstop in the system. No. There's nowhere to run. Nowhere to run.
I would play Zach Short at this point, but
there's nowhere to run.
No, there really is nowhere to run. Too bad. I mean, good thing they drafted Jackson Jobe, right?
And here we are again. We come back full circle.
The circle
and
of
we're right where we
Alavila,
started.
right?
We're right where we started. And, that's what it is. Also, WoodwardSports.com chat thread. I hope he catches fire, then we can trade him. He is untradeable. You taking him for $100 million for 4 years? If you pay half of it, maybe.
No, absolutely not. I wouldn't. I mean, if I were an MLB GM right now, I wouldn't pay a bag of potato chips for him. That's how bad he's been. That's how much his stock has fallen. And I don't think his stock was that high to begin with, but he has been the worst version of himself with the Detroit Tigers.
Brandon, the Rangers are not well run. They woke up and decided they were going to be good.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not saying that they've been a well-run organization, but this year they're in first place, and one of the big reasons is because Marcus Semien and Corey Seager have turned out to be very, very good signings so far. Nathan Eovaldi is one of the most underrated pitchers in Major League Baseball, but Corey Seager has been great for the Rangers. Javier Baez has not been great for the Tigers. He's been a detriment.
Dave Schultz says, worse than Juan Gonzalez? Yes.
Oh,
very much. At least Juan Gonzalez hit you 20-plus home runs.
Absolutely. What did Javier Baez get last year? 17? At least with the Cubs, he would usually give you some hits, some doubles, some home runs, some triples, but not with the Tigers.
Yeah, no question about it. And it's going to end so bad, and I still don't think we realize it.
No.
But it's just not going to get any better. So
Absolutely
it's pretty bleak. When we come back, though, I do want to touch on this, Michigan football, Michigan State basketball thing, because I was told they're destined for greatness. I was told. Yeah. But if your haircut is going to be destined for greatness, where should you go?
Well, you should go to Lady Jane's, of course, because every time I go to Lady Jane's, they have me looking real good. Usually I can see the Lady Jane's from the Planet Fitness Studios, but today we are at Feldman. But anywho, walk into any Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you and one for your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper! Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
The Energy Woodward Sports Network, Neal, Ruhl, Sam Flannel in for DMAC. We got JB Smoove. We got Alex Westfall. JB Smoove, by the way, don't put him on your wedding invite list because your relationship's not going to last. JB Smoove, he said that one out there already. So,
that's
sorry,
fair.
JB Smoove.
That's fair.
You are what your resume says you are. If JB Smoove's at your wedding, 50% chance of survival, less than?
Probably less than. Let's go with that.
The good news is that I met JB Smoove after I'd already given out the invite. So if I would have met you sooner, you would have definitely been there. And I guess by then, my marriage would have a lesser chance of succeeding. So, yes, do not invite.
If you go by the analytics.
You go by the
JB
analytics.
Smoove marriage analytics.
By the numbers.
By the numbers. Absolutely. WoodwardSports.com chat thread. The people that asked me about the Juan Gonzalez thing. Juan Gonzalez, his 1 year here, he did hit 22 home runs in 115 games and had an 842 OPS.
Name one Detroit Tiger who currently has an 842 OPS.
0.0. Or will hit 22 home runs. None.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will.
So just, guys, when we laugh and say Juan Gonzalez was a disaster, there was not a player on this team this year in this day and age of baseball that will approach his numbers that he had here when he was a Tiger.
That's
pretty sobering, isn't it?
That's so sobering because Juan Gonzalez is always seen as such a disaster, and he was compared to the rest of his career, what he was doing at the time. But even he gave you something. I mean, he missed so many games. If he would have played a full season, we might be looking at Juan Gonzalez differently. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
And
that was with, I think, a 399-foot ball that got caught at the fence in the month of April. Tigers are down by 3 in the bottom of the ninth with the bases loaded.
A walk-off grand slam. If he imagine how much that can ingratiate you to a fan base. And it was just because he hit it to the wrong part of the park, or Tiger Stadium was just too big.
They moved the fences in for Javi, and he still can't hit home runs.
He still can't hit home runs.
Chromium says, "Wow, I guess Juan was better than." Oh yes. Don't insult Juan Gonzalez by even thinking that Javier Baez was in his class.
Nope.
It's nowhere near that. I tease this discussion. I do want to get to it because I do feel as though there are some parallels, and maybe we'll get Spencer to weigh in tomorrow. Don't forget catch a heavyweights from 5 to 7. By the way, right here on Woodward Sports Network. Michigan football, Michigan State basketball, and I know like on the show sheet it says who has the higher expectations, and for me, Flannel, I'm not. We can do that one later if you want to get granular on it. There are a lot of parallels between both of them because it's time. It's time for both of them. It's time for Michigan football. It's time for Michigan State basketball. If not now, when, Sam Flannel?
Which is why I actually think it's more prevalent for Michigan football because Michigan football, obviously, they've been to the college football playoff 2 years in a row. They flamed out both times. One of them last year in fairly embarrassing fashion, losing to TCU, who were a 9-point underdog. Obviously, they were a worthy opponent, but still, that is not acceptable. And the players that Michigan are bringing back, they're bringing back their entire backfield, Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy, guys like Will Johnson in the secondary, Junior Colson in the linebacking core, Chris Jenkins on the defensive line, Zach Zinner and Trevor Keegan on the offensive line. They're bringing back a lot of proven commodities off of a team that is back-to-back Big Ten champions. With Michigan State, to me, it's a matter of do those recruits develop or not? Michigan State, they're bringing back Malik Hall, A.J. Hogard, Jaden Akins, and Tyson Walker off of a team that made the Sweet 16 but had a very, I would say, mid-regular season. I think that's very fair. And all of the players that I mentioned, the only one that I think could be a legit NBA player is Jaden Akins, and we'll see if he develops into that.
And he came back.
He came back.
So that tells you all you need to know.
That tells you something.
Yeah.
It depends on if Michigan State's recruits pan out. I mean, Xavier Booker, he's a guy that Spencer pretty much already has as the number 1 pick in the next draft, and he is very, very talented. I will not deny that. But there was a team not that long ago for Michigan State that had Jaren Jackson Jr. and Miles Bridges, and they got bounced in the second round. The tournament is very, very random, and just because a recruit comes in doesn't mean that Tom Izzo is always going to be able to use them correctly. Let me give you a list of some 5-star recruits in recent Michigan State history. These aren't bad players, but just listen to these names. Max Christie. Obviously, he was a raw freshman. He probably should have stayed around, but he didn't do much for Michigan State.
He got drafted in the first round, though.
Was it the first or high second? Either way, but still, yeah, it was based on talent alone, but he didn't do much at Michigan State. Delvon Rowe, again, didn't do much at Michigan State. Brandon Dawson, an okay player, and then you got Gary Harris, who was actually very, very good. So, and then the 4 stars, Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fears. Even though it's a high recruiting class for Michigan State, they're all relative unknowns. I mean, coming into the 2021-2022 season, that was the year where Michigan had Moussa Diabate and Caleb Houston. I understand that they were both drafted in the following draft, but Moussa Diabate and Caleb Houston didn't do a whole lot for Michigan. I mean, compared to their expectations. And I'm not saying that it's the exact same thing. I'm just saying that recruits are unknown still, and the players that Michigan State are bringing back, to me, are just a bunch of pretty good college players, with maybe Jaden Akins having a ceiling of being a draft pick off of a team that snuck into the tournament and made a Sweet 16 run. I think Michigan's expectations are much higher, and there's more pressure on them because they have proven players coming back, proven stars.
You were right. Yeah, Max Christie was a second round pick. Did get a 2-year, almost $3 million contract though. So I would have left too.
He had talent. He just was very, very raw and unpolished at Michigan State.
But that's what you're going to get.
Absolutely.
That's what you're going to get now in college.
But doesn't that speak to maybe the potential of, I'm not even going to say Xavier Booker, but like Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fears. I know that Spencer Raxter in the sound booth every day just gets bricked up at all of those highlights. And I don't blame Spencer. If Michigan, like, look where Michigan basketball is at. It's a dumpster fire right now. Like, I'm jealous of Michigan State's recruiting class, but they're not guarantees. They're 4 stars. I'd love for Michigan to have a 4-star, but you never know with these guys. And I don't want to just talk about them like they're instantly going to be stars.
Because you got the same way about J.J. McCarthy, and I was like, well, Flannel, he's a freshman, man. Like, he is when you all boil it down, he's a freshman.
That's fair, but J.J. McCarthy...
And played like a freshman on the biggest stage.
Well, he dug them a hole, and then he helped bring them back, but the hole that was dug was obviously too far, and Michigan couldn't get a timely stop, which you always remind me of, and you are correct. But I would say that J.J. McCarthy's season was overall a success. He didn't have to do a whole lot in the regular season, which is fair, but he did have his coming-out party at Ohio State, accounting for 4 touchdown passes.
That's a very fine local regional rivalry game.
Hey, but they hadn't won in Columbus since 2000, though. You know that's a monkey they had to get off their back.
No doubt. Jack Carrington says Michigan's football schedule this year is Cupcake City. And, Jack, yeah, it is, but what's the penalty? The penalty is you go to the college football playoff. You know, I get labeled a Michigan hater. You know where I am with the schedule. I would do the exact same thing because why wouldn't you?
The penalty is for having a schedule that is, dare I say, favorable. You have to win. You have to win every game. Even the one at Penn State, which I think is going to be tough. You got to win that one. You got to win at home versus Ohio State, which I think Michigan will be heavy favorites in when the game comes along. You have no margin for error when you're going to be favored in every single game you play. So I understand why they do it and that they're not technically penalized for it. But the penalty is you have no margin for error. And the penalty also is if you go to the college football playoff and flame out like Michigan did, you're going to get questioned. Like, why didn't you test yourself more in the non-conference? And then you can't even answer it because it's like, oh, yeah, Michigan did lose to TCU. Maybe they could have done a few things different. I don't know. All I know is Michigan lost.
R.J. Graham says, I want Izzo to get another national championship before he retires. And R.J., look, when you discuss Michigan State and the expectations for basketball, and we'll get to the Michigan football into this on the other side of the break, that is the overriding thing about those discussions, because that's what it is. And you're going over 2 decades since Michigan State did win a national title, since the Big Ten has won a national title in basketball as a whole. So I know that becomes the narrative, and that's why I think pressure gets amped up a little bit. Because how many more kicks at the can from a recruiting perspective? Because look at all of Tom Izzo's contemporaries in terms of coaching. What's happening? One by one, they're all stepping away.
They're all stepping away. And the thing about Tom Izzo, both things can be true. He is the best Big Ten basketball coach of my lifetime. He is one of the best Big Ten basketball coaches ever. I would argue to Bobby Knight being one. But he's not Jay Wright. He's not Roy Williams. He's not Coach K. He's not Jim Calhoun. He's Jim Boeheim, and Michigan State is Syracuse at this point. Nothing wrong with being that, but if he really wants to be in that top tier, like mentioned as one of the best.
You got to win a second chip.
You got to win a second chip because all of those other guys have done it. And Michigan State and Tom Izzo haven't always fared well against Mike Krzyzewski and Roy Williams. And even, you know what, I'll even include Bill Self in that. Bill Self has 2. Tom Izzo still only has 1. That's why him and Jim Boeheim, they're more the Spider-Man meme looking at each other and pointing at each other than you think. A lot of people might not like that, but there's also nothing wrong with being Jim Boeheim. Hall of Fame coaches, they're a tier below the immortals like the Coach K's and the Roy Williamses.
No, you're absolutely right. And if you want national championship level home security, that's pretty easy.
Oh, you go with Guardian Alarm, of course. I was actually driving down 8 Mile, and I went past their headquarters. It was pretty cool. I actually yelled, "Stay out the window." But anywho, it's a new year. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people who have been proven to care. Call them at 1-800-STAY-OUT. That is 1-800-STAY-OUT. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not 1, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, 1 for you, 1 for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime, sign in, sit down, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Let one of our talented, award-winning stylists make you look handsome and clean. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, it's wicked awesome.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
At Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network, Neal, Ruhl, Sam Flannel in for D-Mac. We got Westy, Alex Westfall here in the building. JB Smoove as well. Don't invite him to your wedding if you want your marriage to last. That's what we have found out here. But as we talked about, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer on Grand River in Novi. Don't forget they got that $2,000 rebate going on the Silverado. If you're a current leaseholder on a Colorado Equinox or a Blazer, they can get you into that Silverado. So come on out here, see the good folks at Feldman Chevrolet in Novi. I'll be talking about them. I think I'm going to make the EV switch coming up. So, again, this is the spot. They're #1 Chevy dealer in the state of Michigan. That is fact, not opinion. We're talking about the Michigan football, Michigan State basketball dynamic. And the WoodwardSports.com chat thread, a lot of people talking about Michigan's schedule. Tristo says that's a lot of team schedules, though. It's not just Michigan's. Look at Bama, look at Georgia. See, that's where you guys lose me. Like last year, Bama played at Texas.
Almost lost.
Georgia played Oregon.
And they beat that ass.
Yeah, like 49-3 or 49-0, whatever that was. Like they did that. And I was just asking Flannel, I'm like, when's the last time? Like Alabama went to Texas last year. When's the last time Michigan went anywhere to play a game?
Yeah, it was 2018 at Notre Dame. And I know Notre Dame's a little bit different because they were a rivalry for many, many years. They used to do that all the time. But yeah, they went to Notre Dame. That was Shea Patterson's first ever start as a Michigan quarterback. And they went to Notre Dame and lost. To be fair, in 2019, Notre Dame came back to Michigan, and Michigan beat that ass that game. But that was the last time, 2018.
Yeah. Also says Bama still schedule schools like Citadel, New Mexico State in the middle of the season. Well, Tristo, you know they play 8 conference games, right, instead of 9. So who are they supposed to play? Because everybody else is playing a conference game. So what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, and it's... And it works. It works. And their conference schedules are obviously been some of the most difficult of the past however many years because the SEC is king and always and has been and will be for the foreseeable future.
Christopher says, that was a home game, Neal. It was in Atlanta. You're stupid. They still played them.
Yeah.
They played Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Oregon? They played them.
And, I know at the beginning of the season, I wasn't very high on Bo Nix and his transfer to Oregon, but towards the end of the year, Oregon was looking pretty good. That win definitely aged a lot better as the season went on, and Bo Nix at one point became a borderline Heisman candidate. So it's because Georgia was so good that they made Oregon look like a JV team.
Yeah.
That's the facts.
But I think it boils down to for Michigan State, with this recruiting class and the expectations, what's weighing on Izzo's shoulder with that second national championship. Now, as you flip that page and get to the Michigan football side of it, Flannel, I'm asking you right now, it is national championship or bust, right? Like that. It's, to me, as an outside observer looking at it, that's what it has to be, right? Or no?
Yes.
I know you guys will try to placate and you want everything easy and you want everything stacked in your favor, and you want to be a 10-point favorite in every game. Like, I get that, but it's championship or bust, right?
Yes, because Michigan, by this time, they've turned the first page, or they've turned the first couple of pages, because as we all know, from 2005 to 2020, they had a Big Ten championship drought. And from 2004 to 2019, they lost to Ohio State 15 out of 16 times. They've gotten over that hump. Michigan has finally gotten to the point where they sort of run the Big Ten, or have for the last couple of years. They're back-to-back Big Ten champions, back-to-back double-digit wins over Ohio State.
So that takes away 2 decades, right?
It doesn't
win in 2 games.
No, it doesn't take away 2 decades.
Okay, I'm just checking. I'm just checking in, everybody.
It's a turning of the page. It's the mountain that they had to climb, and they have climbed, for the record. And it looks like this year the expectations are that they'll do all of that again. But what's also weighing heavy, what's been the dark cloud over Michigan, is that loss to TCU. That's why I call it one of the worst days of my life, because it was unexpected, and I had to come in here to this show and wear it, and I've been wearing it ever since. And this year,
you didn't just not show up for the show?
I did show up for the show.
Oh,
and then
that's weird.
And then I went and did Ermanni and Edwards with Spencer right afterwards.
Oh, weird.
That was all
right. Carry on.
No, that was a fun day. But this year, with Michigan and all that they're bringing back, Blake.
Well, hey, here, WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Chromium says playoffs. It's all you can ask for. You see what I'm talking about there? No, that's not good enough, right?
No, it's not good enough. Here's the thing: if you're a playoff team in any sport, getting upset in the playoffs, falling short of expectations, it's one of the worst things you can experience. That taste in your mouth that just won't go away.
Because Brandon says Michigan season's a success if they beat Ohio State and win the Big Ten. They don't have to win the national title.
No,
what are we talking about here?
No,
why can't you guys say, hey, I expect to win a championship?
Sure.
Why?
I don't know. Probably because the SEC has just been so dominant, and teams like Alabama and Georgia, and even recently Clemson and in one year LSU have looked like juggernauts. And Michigan, I think a lot of fans, and I'm not even going to blame too many of them for it, went through a pretty dark stage where even in our own conference, there was a team that Michigan just could not hang with. It was considered Ohio State was the only Big Ten team that could ever get to that level, and Michigan would continuously get curb stomped by them. So there's still that, I don't want to say ethos where you're like, beating Ohio State is just so big and so great right now, which it is. But there's an opportunity this year. And I know Alabama, they don't just recruit, they reload. They are losing Bryce Young, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, and Will Anderson.
And Georgia's the same story. If you're ever going to get one, it's this year.
Absolutely. They've lost 8 first-round draft pick defenders in the past 2 years, plus an offensive lineman, and I don't think very highly of Stetson Bennett, but he's gone. He was their quarterback. This is the year to do it, and Clemson, they've fallen off a bit the last couple of years, although with DJ Uiagalelei transferring, they might be back up. Michigan, I'm not saying it'll happen, but it wouldn't shock me if they are preseason number 1 or number 2, if they spend multiple weeks this season as the number 1 team in the nation. Would that surprise you?
Well, yeah, because they got bye weeks until November,
and that's fair. That's the blessing and the curse of having an easier schedule. I would say.
And look, they play Rutgers every week, so every week it'll be 40 to 12, and you know how this stuff works, man. People just they scoreboard watch, and they'll go off of that. And yes, Michigan will be the number 1 team by the end of September.
And a lot of those teams, too, might have losses because they play tougher games earlier on in the season. So, yeah, if you're the number 1 team for multiple weeks, you expect to win the national championship. And I do believe there is something to Alabama. I think they might take a step back this year just because of all the players they lost, especially Bryce Young. And their backup last year did not look very impressive when he had to play. And I get that it's Alabama. And Georgia, you can't just – it's very, very hard to three-peat in terms of winning a national championship, and especially losing the players that they've lost in the last couple of years. Clemson looks more beatable. LSU's been a little bit down, although I think that they're going to be a surprise team. This Ohio State, they lost guys like C.J. Stroud. This might be the year. That's why this season, I think, is a little bit different given the fact that Michigan brought back so many players, including J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum, and Donovan Edwards. This has to be the year. And
really?
Yes.
Well, what about this? Mason Gillespie says Michigan's been a top 3 program the previous 2 years, which I don't see how you could say they would be a top 3, but whatever.
Yeah.
And will be again this year. Neal is just a hater with nothing better to do. See, Mason, here's the deal. I expect more out of your team than you do, Mason. If you're a Michigan fan, I expect more than you do. I'll never understand that narrative. I'll never understand how there seems to be a path this year. The Georgia dynasty, the NFL draft took away the Georgia dynasty. Alabama looks human this year. I expect them to win the national title. If they don't, it's a failure. I don't know why you guys aren't comfortable saying that. Why? Flannel, why? Why the insecurity? Why is that there? Expect to win the national title. I expect you guys to win it. And if you don't, you had a failure of a season. I'm sorry.
I mean, they've been to 2 consecutive college football playoffs and we're one and done in both. And the next progression is to win the national championship. I do, and not that this is the end-all, be-all. The person who said, I forgot who it was, that say that Michigan's been the 3rd best program in the past 2 years. I think you can argue they've been the 2nd best program in the last couple of years, just with making it to the college football playoff twice. Obviously not better than Georgia, but still, if that's true, you don't want to stay as the 2nd best program for long. You're supposed to take that leap into number 1. And I'm not poo-pooing everything that Michigan has accomplished the last couple of years, just getting back to being a Big Ten powerhouse. But Jim Harbaugh doesn't want to become the new Schembechler, where when they get to the biggest stage, they lose. And if they do it again,
you're 0-3 in the playoff.
You're 0-3 in the playoff, just like they were 2-8 in the Rose Bowl under Bo Schembechler.
And again, I go back to it, guys. Like I said, I have higher expectations. If a coach in the SEC is 0-3 in the playoffs, what happens to them?
They're either fired or their seat is like burning at that point. It's factual, and this has to be the year. And if Michigan does win the national championship, then you go to 2024 where you bring in a top recruiting class, or at least it is right now, and headlined by Jaden Davis, the 5-star quarterback. Then we can have conversations about Michigan being a top powerhouse team. Now, what they are right now is one of the better programs in all of college football, but they haven't won a natty since 1997, and they certainly haven't won one in the college football playoff era. And Ohio State has.
Chromium says expect playoffs, hope for a natty. Is that what it is? You just hope, Flannel?
No, at this point, you know what? If you want to say that in 2021, that's all well and good. Just we were happy. Michigan was happy to be there in 2021, and I don't even necessarily blame them. They had to overcome. They finally climbed the mountain that was Ohio State in the Big Ten. But in 2022, their performance against TCU, you have to erase that. I don't think people understand how damaging that was. I know a lot of people will tell you, oh, if they beat TCU, they would have just gotten clocked by Georgia in the college football playoff. But winning a playoff game is better to me than winning none. And then if you went to play Georgia, you'd at least see how far behind you are. And I believe that Michigan would have given Georgia a better game than TCU did, but it doesn't matter because Michigan lost to the team that Georgia beat by 58. That's sad. When you put it out like that, that is sad, isn't it?
It is sad.
Sobering.
We'll wrap it up with this. Tristo, Neal, your argument for Alabama and Georgia playing Oregon and Texas, everybody plays a bigger team at some point. Is it Michigan's fault Washington didn't meet expectations in 2021? No, it's not their fault, and I said that as much, remember?
Yeah.
It's all you can do is schedule them, but it is their fault they didn't play in 2022.
That's the thing.
It is their fault, Tristo. They tapped out of that game. They did. Sorry.
And in 2021, like we said, Washington was much worse than they were expected to be. It was expected to be a tougher game, but it wasn't. Not Michigan's fault. They got a little lucky there, but 2022 and 2023, and I'm the biggest Michigan fan there is, but they're not playing really anybody. That's just fair, and they're all at home.
BD3 says Michigan fans will tell you about all those first-round draft picks with no titles to back it up.
Yeah, and if you have more first-round draft picks, you should win titles. That's just facts.
Yep. Speaking of first-round picks, Strawberry Fest, that is #1 overall, and it's back at Big Boy. You can try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes or the mouth-watering red velvet waffle. You're not a breakfast person? I'm not. But I am a strawberry bacon chicken wrap person. I've had it before during Strawberry Fest at Big Boy. If you're more of a salad kind of person, that's cool. Refreshing Summer Splash salad is an option for you also. And don't forget to grab dessert. That's what started the whole Strawberry Fest movement. Strawberry pie, the OG of Strawberry Fest. They've had a deep-fried vanilla Oreo, strawberry hot fudge cake, all of that and more. Get to your local Big Boy for Strawberry Fest.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Let's stretch here. Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network, Neal, Ruhl, Sam, Flannel, in for D-Mac. D-Mac back in studio tomorrow. We got JB Smoove, the marriage killer, in the house. We got Alex Westfall as well. Westy here, judging, just kind of looking, judging. He gives you the little, you never know what he's thinking.
He's peering. If that's a word.
Our guy, Adam Baydoun, in the WoodwardSports.com chat. Neal, Ruhl is kind of hot. Thank you, Adam. I'm jealous of your beard, by the way, since we're handing out compliments right now. But if I could have a beard, I would want Adam Baydoun's beard.
His beard is better than my beard, and I will admit that fully.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is absolutely 100% true. Pistons coaching staff starting to come together. Steven Silas hired. He's going to be an assistant on the staff. Rich Diana, Neal Ruhl is kind of cool. BD Neal Ruhl is icy hot. Sometimes it depends. It depends on the day, I guess you could say. But Steven Silas, veteran guy. It's an assistant coach.
Yeah.
You ever notice when assistant coaches are hired, everyone's like, that's a good hire. Nobody ever says bad, and then nobody ever talks about him again until the coach gets fired or wins a championship.
Yeah, I know. And then a lot of those assistants, they're almost instantly, if their team wins, then they turn into the hot head coaching name, which is what Charles Lee turned into, which nothing against Charles Lee. It's just assistant coaches. You're right. It's always, that was a good hire, or, that guy's going to be a good head coach someday.
And then you never talk about him again.
You never talk about him again.
So until they move on and go somewhere else. Steve says, are there any players with a Monty Williams connection that makes sense for us to sign? And as far as free agency, and I took the look at free agency. We did that in a show not too long ago. The list is unimpressive.
Yeah.
There is nobody out there that's really going to get you excited. I mean, does Russell Westbrook or James Harden, does that Kyrie Irving, Kristaps Porzingis, does that move the needle for you? Hey, Kevin Love played well last night. You want to get Kevin Love out there?
No, none of those guys move the needle. Certainly not Russell Westbrook.
Derrick Rose, you want to bring him back?
No, Derrick Rose is done. He should retire at this point.
What do you got? Kyle Kuzma out there. It's just Jeremy Grant's been a name and he's kind of become a lightning rod discussion in this town as well. But it's just wrapping up that discussion about the Michigan football and the expectations, and it's pretty clear. The Michigan football fans, they don't expect to win a national title. They hope for it.
There were a couple people in this chat that I think Mason...
Go Blue 7 said it. He's like, bottom line, we have no excuses. We have to win the national title.
Yeah, I think Mason Gillespie said it as well, and that's the bottom line. Michigan has been... They've reached the heights that they hadn't reached in about 15, 20 years. That's all well and good. Michigan has proven that they can do that. And with all of the talent that Michigan has coming back this year, especially in the backfield and in the secondary, in my opinion, they got to do it.
Brandon says Michigan's playing for Big Ten titles, not national championships. Yeah, I mean, that appears to be the tenor of the fans.
I don't think Brandon Katz, though, speaks for Michigan fans. I think
that's an accurate reflection, though. When you tell me you hope to win a national title, that's what you're telling me.
Well, you can. I don't think expecting and hoping are necessarily mutual. I think that you can do a little bit of both. Obviously, you expect it, but I want a national championship more than anything in the world. I think I would cut off a pinky or a pinky toe to make that happen. No
For real?
question. Yeah, probably. I'm a sick man when it comes to Michigan football. I shouldn't have said that out loud, should I have?
Our own Matt Broder says I'm in the championship or bus camp, and that's a Michigan man saying that who struck out George Springer for the Michigan baseball team.
Oh yeah, and me and Broder, we have conversations about Michigan quite a bit, and I always say that I kind of feel a little bit bad for Broder because he was there at Michigan from 2008 to 2012, I believe. You can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. And so he was in school for all of the Rich Rod years. And at the beginning of Hulk was actually, I think, better than people give him credit for. They did beat Ohio State in 2011, but still, the first few years that Broder was in school, he was probably thinking, I get to at least see a winning football team. Nope.
John Lord says, let's go, Sam. Snip, snip time. Which one would you rather go without, the pinky toe or the pinky finger? Which one are you guaranteeing that you'll cut off if they don't, if they win the national title?
My goodness, I shouldn't have said anything. Probably the toe.
Be a man of your word. No one made you say that. No one put it out there and trapped you into that.
And they could actually do it this year, couldn't they? I didn't declare anything. I was just thinking out loud. I didn't declare anything. But yeah, this could actually be the year that they do it. That's a limb.
Steve says, do it, cut off the pinky toe, take it and sew it onto an aging walrus.
What?
I don't know what that means, but it is.
An aging walrus.
Whatever. Can we chat poll that one? Which would you rather cut off, a pinky toe or a pinky finger? I'd have to think about that one for a minute.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one.
I guess I would probably say toe, but I guess the point is that I'm pretty avid when it comes to my Michigan fandom. If they are good, if they win the national championship, I get happier about Michigan national championships than I do any other sporting event by far. Not even close. I'm a bit of a psycho when it comes to Michigan football. As you guys all know by a lot of my halftime texts when it would always be 13-7 or 10-7 or 13-10 last year.
I'm trying to think. Westy, which one would you go with? Toe or the finger? Pinky toe, pinky finger. You'd cut off the toe? What about you, JB Smoove?
I'd probably have to go with the toe.
You do the toe as well? Really?
Yeah.
But do you still have everyone says, nobody ever thinks about it, but the balance you would lose if you lost the toe.
Yeah, obviously I wasn't thinking much because I said it out loud. I would.
I don't know how to go on this one. Which one would you rather do?
I said toe, but it's not something that I feel very strongly about. I feel like you feel like you use your hands more, but you literally walk all day.
I think I'm going to go with the finger.
On further review, I might even go with the finger.
Because think about it. How often does a pinky finger come into play in your everyday life?
I was going to say, I'm right-handed, so if I just cut off the left pinky finger, that might not be so bad. Could just say that I was, mauled by an animal or something.
You don't really use it for the golf grip, Westy. But you'd still have the divot there that you could place it in there.
Oh man,
I don't know. I'm interested to see. Which one would you rather cut off, your pinky toe or your pinky finger? Pinky toe, 79% of the vote so far.
Yeah, when I broke it all down, I think I might change mine to finger, just because I just feel like...
Shane D says, yes, you do, Neal. You use your pinky finger all the time. Maybe I don't think about it. But I think you use your pinky toe more every step you take.
You were the one that brought it up. That I think that's one of those things that you wouldn't know how much you would miss it until you were missing it. And you would have no balance or equilibrium when it comes to anything you do. Would you even be able to run? Yeah, finger. Absolutely finger. Left pinky finger if I had to choose.
See, Patrick says next time you grab a gallon of milk, use your pinky and index finger. I think you could very easily substitute the ring finger for that.
You definitely could. It would be easy. I mean, you would rather have all of your limbs. Obviously, that goes without saying. But the pinky finger, I've changed my vote. Finger.
Because say you bought a new car here at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. Like when they hand you the keys to your car, you could just, without the pinky, you could still take the keys. But if you're walking to your new Chevrolet that you just bought at Feldman Chevrolet, it would be weird if you were walking without the pinky toe, I would feel like.
It would be weird, and it would probably be a little bit painful and awkward at some point, right?
Maybe you took advantage of the $2,000 rebate on the Silverado if you came out here and did that. If they handed you the keys, you could still grab them without a pinky finger.
You absolutely
That's
could.
all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, everybody. So, it is. It's one of those things where I don't know why it went to that level, but it did. And here we are. So let me tell you about Dispo in Romeo. You can elevate your senses and embrace the harmony of nature at Dispo Dispensary. Whether you're a seasoned connoisseur or new to the plant life, Dispo has over 10 locations. Experienced bud tenders ready to serve your needs. Visit disposhops.com today. That's DISPO shops.com. They'll plug you up.
Hey, it's Sean Jordan from the Sports Marketing Agency, and SMA wouldn't be who we are without our amazing partners.
Thank you so much, Sean. At Detroit Wayne, we want to serve as a resource for you and your families. We offer mental health services, substance use disorder services throughout our communities, and we want to be that source and resource within the community.
If you or a loved one are suffering from a mental health or substance abuse issue, please don't hesitate to call 1-800-241-4949.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Final segment of the show, Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network. We're live at Feldman Chevrolet in Novi off of Grand River, Michigan's #1 Chevrolet dealer. And the WoodwardSports.com chat thread, Derek Lewis, I'll cut off my pinky toe for a new Silverado. Well, Derek, you don't have to do that. They have a $2,000 rebate. Come on down here and get one set up. No pinky finger, pinky toe, none of it required.
That's a little aggressive for something that you can actually control and buy.
With a $2,000 rebate. So there you go. Chromium says, final segment, boo. Hey, I'm sorry. All good things come to an end.
1 o'clock is undefeated, as you like to say.
Yeah. Yeah. But, that's what it was. We did chop. And remember, too, subscribe to the Big D Energy podcast. Detroit Lions heavy, the first hour of the show. You can rewind, fast forward, subscribe to what latest episodes will go right to your phone. And Peaceful Tim says, I love my Chevrolet too, bow tie till I die. So a lot of Chevy love in the WoodwardSports.com chat thread. So that is cool to see that. BD says, we need 3-hour shows. Then I need a new contract, BD. So, that's the way that works. And Adam shakes his fist and says, no. So then, okay.
All right.
There is a yes answer out there.
Yep.
I just need that yes to be a yes to 2 questions.
I couldn't agree more. And you know what? I just do what I'm told.
Bradley K says, I love the podcast for those days when I can't tune into the whole show live. Thanks, Bradley. If you'd be so kind, too, leave it a 5-star review. That would be pretty sweet as well. Got anything else, Sam Flannel? I mean, we kind of ran the gamut on a Monday. How about some Sam slander?
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that. I'm sure.
Real quick,
LFG looks like he's already like.
Yeah, fire it away in there. Give us some quick Sam slander. We'll read some of the good ones out there. Usually takes about 15 or 20 seconds to get that rolling. Peaceful Tim, we can't afford 3 hours of Neal. We're lucky he takes a discount for 2 hours. That is true. Let me see here. What do we got? Some Sam Flannel slander coming in there. They call this a little slice of off-season heaven. Jack Harrington, Sam is a bandwagon Chiefs fan. Address that, because that's something that's prevalent on the slander Sam segments.
Yeah, they're my team too right now. So for the record, when Detroit does go to Kansas City in week 1, I will be rooting for the Lions. But lately, the Lions haven't been they've been a bad franchise. So I've had to pick teams and particularly players that I love, and Patrick Mahomes is that guy. I'm not so much a Chiefs. The Chiefs aren't my second team as much as Patrick Mahomes is my favorite player.
Which makes I've made a career of that. Barry Bonds.
Sure,
I didn't like the Giants. I hated Jeff Kent, but I love Barry Bonds.
That is the exact same. I mean, we all, and I know all of you guys do it too. There's players on other teams that you admire that you want to see do well, and Patrick Mahomes is just that one for me. And you know, since he's been on the Chiefs, I've grown to like a lot of their players, like Chris Jones, Travis Kelce. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for Andy Reid and the offensive genius that he is, and now he's gotten it validated with 2 Super Bowls. It goes deep with me and the Chiefs, man.
Nick Holland. All right, Flannel. Lions Super Bowl or Michigan Natty?
Michigan Natty, and it's not even close. I know that splits the viewership a little bit, but Michigan Natty, 100%. 100%. Kind of curious what Spenny would say. Like Tom Izzo's second
He would say Lions.
You think so?
100% he would say Lions. Chuck Brewer agrees with you, though.
Yep.
But you guys don't even expect it. You don't demand it.
But it's been a while. And you always like to say the 1997 one was half a national championship. But if they actually win one in the college football playoff era, there's nothing that you can say. Like Michigan, the fandom is deep. It can elevate my life and ruin it. No matter the outcome of the game.
R.J. Graham asked a question. Why don't you have a flannel with the Michigan logo on it?
That's actually a good question. I have one that's maize and blue-ish colored, so maybe there's a way. Actually, my wife is pretty crafty. I'm sure she could make that happen. Actually, if you're listening right now, let's get on that.
All right, I think that's enough damage for Sam Flannel here today. A big thank you to everybody here out at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevrolet dealer on Grand River in Novi. They are the play. If you're in the new car market, come through here. Good folks out here, so make sure you make your way out there. So for Sam Flannel, JB Smoove, Alex Westfall, Adam Baydoun's Beard, my name is Neal Ruhl. Thanks for tapping in to Big D Energy on the Woodward Sports Network. Well, see you later.